folks. Today we're going to be discussing your lesson plan format for this course. So the science lesson plan format is very specific and it is listed on Moodle under assignments in grading rubric, and it looks something like this. Unfortunately, it's backwards when I'm showing it to you this way. And what I'd like you guys to do is open up this document and walk through it with me so you understand exactly what is expected of you for your lesson plans. And so for this course specific to the science lesson plans, you obviously are going to need to place your name, which you actually get a point for, surprisingly, I know. And then also the lesson plan topic, your grade level, and then the approximate length of the lesson. And this lesson plan that you're turning into me, this is the same lesson plan that I will be observing for implementation. So the first thing you need to place is the Louisiana Student Standard, and I left the website on the lesson plan for you to look it up. So obviously if it's 1LS1 or whatever the specific Louisiana standard is. The second is the objectives, including Bloom's taxonomy. And here you're also going to be including your 6 E's. So you're going to see in parentheses that I put condition, performance, and criteria. Basically what I need you to do is explain what you're going to be doing for each of the 6 E's. And if you're confused and looking at me funny, like, what is she talking about with these 6 E's? If you go back to chapter 3 in Moodle, we discuss specifics of science lesson planning. I also expect you to have a variety of levels of Bloom's taxonomy. Obviously, if you're introducing a new topic, they're going to have to learn the vocabulary. Maybe they have to memorize some steps to a scientific process, but I also need to be seeing application and creation. Then what you're going to discuss is your lesson introduction. This should include an attention grabber, some sort of statement of purpose, or real life connection. That real life connection could be anything from something you see in the news to something that they do every day. And then you're going to go into your actual lesson presentation. This is where I need you to thoroughly explain how to teach and model all the previously listed objectives. All content must be included on how you will meet the 6 E's. So this is where you will be adding multiple documents at the end of this lesson plan. You're going to be showing me what YouTube videos you're going to be using, what worksheets you're going to be using, if there's specific ways you want your students to collect data, if you're using some sort of kit. Any of that information that needs to be included here. And what I'd like to see with that lesson plan presentation is if I, for some reason, wasn't going to be at your implementation, I would still understand exactly what you did and in what order. Then you're going to explain how you are going to provide guided practice. Now, I understand that for inquiry-based, this is a little touchy, so it might just be how you're going to explain the instructions or show your students how to use the various equipment that you might need for the experiment that you're doing in that lesson. And then you're going to tell me about the independent practice. So this is where the students are going to practice the objective and must be evidence of teacher monitoring. So are you going to be walking around the different groups? Are you going to have your students record and then show you the recordings of what they did outside? Whatever it might be, that would be the independent practice. For these science lesson plans, your students have to do something hands-on, and a worksheet is not considered hands-on. So they need to be measuring something, they need to be collecting data, or they need to be creating something. Now, I understand that you may have very limited supplies and very limited time, but that doesn't mean that we can't get creative. For example, if you are teaching about DNA, your students can build DNA using toothpicks and gummy bears. That's them doing something, not just filling out a worksheet, doing A, C, T, G, and all that other stuff. I would prefer for your students to actually be measuring and collecting data, but I do recognize that for some of these lessons and in the semester that you are doing this lesson plan, you may have to get really creative. And you're welcome to email me or call me and we can discuss what you want to do. And also, I think I've made it very apparent, but if you need specific laboratory supplies like graduated cylinders, weights, measuring tape, stopwatches, things that you may not be able to afford to get or don't have in your school, I can see what I can do from the Nichols State side. So I'm happy to do my best to help you implement your lesson plan and provide as many materials as I possibly can from Nichols. Okay, so after your students do their independent practice, then I want you to tell me under the review exactly how you're going to wrap up that lesson. So how are you going to conclude this? How are you going to see if they actually understand the objectives that you had stated in your lesson plan? Then it starts to get tricky. Underneath that, it says national standards, and then in parentheses, specific to the student's major. That's you. This is your major. And so since this is an elementary school specific course, this is Methods for Elementary Science, you will need to look up those standards under the ACEI document, which I posted on Moodle. So those have specific standards that teachers need to meet. And if you're wondering why we ask you for that, we have to collect data for our accrediting agency so that you can continue to get your master's degrees and your certifications through Nichols. And they need to see that our students actually are meeting these various requirements under these governing bodies. So you'll see modification and accommodation. So please include both academic and cultural modifications and or accommodations. I understand that all classes are different. So depending on the student body that you have in your classroom, you may need to make accommodations for specific students. Or if you were talking about a very specific phenomenon, you may need to consider students' culture. And then under that, again, you will need to list the various standards from that ACEI document. And I'm happy to help you with that. Then you'll list all of your materials that you're going to be using, including ridiculous things like I use Microsoft PowerPoint. I need you to tell me that, and then provide the PowerPoint that you're using in your lesson plan. And then again, the national standards that those meet. And then how are you going to assess or evaluate your students? And you must label and describe both a formative and summative assessment methods in this section. So again, it can't just be a multiple choice exam or quiz. There needs to be other ways that we are assessing our students throughout the process to make sure that they are understanding this various scientific phenomena that you are teaching about. And then again, you're going to list the national standards that you are meeting by providing that assessment under the ACEI document. Then you're going to describe if you need to plan for any adjustments to instruction. So how would you adjust this lesson if it proved to be too hard or too easy, or you didn't have enough time, or maybe you had too much time? So that is where you would list that. Then on the second page of your lesson plan, you have integration. Here you need to integrate 2 other disciplines in the lesson, and you must label and describe the integration. This is where it's kind of awesome that we have the 6 E's, because that 6th E is e-learning. I will count e-learning here. So if you have your students using a specific technology or looking things up past what you did in class that day, then you can use that as one of your 2 other disciplines. And what I'd like you to do is just reiterate that 6E here in this section of integration. You will still have to consider another discipline. For example, maybe it's math. If you guys were doing some interesting measuring and using math equations, it could be literature. If you are discussing some observation in nature and then you read a book during your ELA lesson that involves that same observation or that same organism. But you do need to integrate another discipline into the lesson. And then again, you will need to look up the national standard, which is under that ACEI document. And then finally, I need you guys to list your references. This includes the resources used to plan the lesson, and you must have 2 others besides the louisianabeliefs.com, and I expect those references to be listed in an APA format. So basically what you're going to be turning into me is going to be a giant packet. I recognize that, especially for my teachers that are currently teaching, that this is not how lesson plans are usually created, but this is a lesson plan that is going to be uploaded into your portfolio and is what I will use as a grading tool and assessment tool for accreditation. So it needs to be a nice fat packet, and what you'll see on Moodle is a place for you to upload everything. You can upload it as a Word document, a PDF. If you have to upload multiple files, then we will find a way for you to get all that information into that one document. If you have any questions about the lesson plan implementation, please email me. Feel free to call my office if you need to so we can have a discussion, or I'm happy to have a video chat. Thanks guys, and I'm really looking forward to reviewing your lesson plans.